Hi everyone, hope you're all doing alright. So today I want to make a dish with us called guo bao rou. It is a very traditional dish in Northeastern China. Some fun facts: it was first created in Harbin, so very northern China. And some other fun facts: it was first called guo bao rou, and which literally means explosion of meat in a wok. And I think it's called this because you have to first fry it, and then you really quickly in a wok cook it in a sauce. And then it was first made for a Russian delegate in the embassy. And so this is an anecdote that I've heard, and it might be a myth, which is the reason why it's now called guo bao rou, which actually means the wok envelops the meat, so it doesn't really make any sense, is because the Russian delegates couldn't actually pronounce guo bao rou, and they pronounced it with a Russian accent, so it turned into guo bao rou. So really the name that we currently know of guo bao rou is actually just a misnomer because of Russians who can't speak Mandarin. And today, to make this dish, there are just a few points that I want to bear in mind with you guys. I have my notes here because I can't memorize everything. First, oil temperature, because you have to fry this twice to make it really crunchy. So it's best if you can control the oil temperature somehow. Then is the batter and the application of it. I'll show you guys how to actually do that. I think that is the biggest technique for this dish. Then the actual thickness of the meat when you cut it, and finally the speed at which at the end you cook that sauce that coats the meat. This dish is a sweet and sour dish. It is called, in English I guess it's called crispy sweet and sour pork. It's crispy because the meat is thin and fried, and it's sweet and sour because of the actual sauce of it. And so let's get started. Right, so first things first is the meat. You want to cut the meat. So I have here a pork shoulder joint, but you could use pork leg or hind or even neck, as long as the meat is quite a big hunky piece. And then I cut off a piece about my hand's big size, and one that has a length of about 10 centimeters, and the width of about maybe 6 to 7 centimeters is fine, because then what we want to do is we want to cut cross sections like this and cut into slices.
Right, so let's begin cutting the meat. You want to cut the meat around 3 to 4 millimeters thick. Please use a sharp knife. I didn't sharpen my knife and it was quite dull, so I really struggled here. So you want to end up with a piece like this, a little bit longer than it is wide, and around 3 millimeters thick. And we will be cutting around 200 grams of this. And that's 200 grams of meat.
Now with the meat, what you want to do is you want to soak it in some baking soda or salt. Salt solution is fine too. What that will do is loosen up the meat a little bit, so that afterwards, not only will it be more crunchy on the outside, it will still be quite juicy and tender on the inside. So I have here bicarbonate of soda, so baking soda. Add about a teaspoon is fine. Get some water. Put the meat inside. and just let that soak for 10 minutes is fine. Just a quick soak. So we'll set that aside. So these are the things you're going to need for your garnish. Coriander, spring onion, and garlic. You could also add carrots and ginger as well. I absolutely hate ginger. I know I am Chinese, but I hate ginger. Carrots I didn't add today just because I didn't buy any carrots, but you could if you want, and I just replaced the ginger with garlic. You're done. Taking a while. And then cut them into little slivers. So you would just slice them into thin slices first. And slivers like this is good. That's one. This one we will cut in half. And 3 cloves of garlic is enough. I love to eat garlic, so I use quite a lot in my cooking. And I think that's the thing, in Chinese cooking, if you don't use a lot of garlic, are you really cooking Chinese, So there you go, there's some of your slivers, and we'll keep going with it. Usually I would do this very crudely, but today I'm filming a video for all of you, so I'm going to do this a little bit prettier. Right, so that's garlic done. And then for the spring onion, we're only going to use the white part. Give it a little wash, cut off the end. Get some of that coat, not coat, I mean the layer off of it. And then just cut it into slivers, like so. In hindsight, I think actually leek might be a better idea, because they are a lot easier to cut than spring onion. A little bit of spring onion, and then finally for the coriander, we don't need to cut it. For the coriander, we just need to keep the stalk. The reason is, if you cook the leaves as well, they will char quite easily in the wok, and they will become this kind of messy, withered mess. It doesn't really matter for taste. I don't think it tastes any different, but it's just not very aesthetically pleasing. And since these are more garnishes, I think we should go for aesthetics more than just taste, because the sweet and sourness of this dish will completely overtake really any of the garnish that you put on. Maybe not the garlic will still be quite strong. If you use ginger, ginger will really give it a lot of kick as well. So yeah, so ginger, you do the same as you would with the garlic. You would slice it, and then you will cut into slivers, into little shreds. Right, so here we go. Here we are, the 3 garnishes, and we are going to move on to the next step, which is to make the sauce. Right, so now we're going to make the sauce. We want to make the sauce beforehand so that when we quickly coat the meat in the wok later on, we don't have to make the sauce at that time. We can just pour it right over the meat when we need it. I would add about 2 tablespoons of each first and then see how it tastes. So 2 tablespoons of sugar. I have here Chinese white vinegar, white rice vinegar. It's not the 9 degrees vinegar because that one's way too sour in my opinion, so it's just this one. 2 tablespoons to begin with. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Give it some color. You don't have to, I mean you could just use sugar and vinegar, that's fine as well. The soy sauce just gives a little bit of color. This is the traditional way. The newer way is to also add some ketchup. I'm not going to do that just because I quite prefer the traditional way. And then a little bit of salt as well. Some salt. Again, it depends. You're going to be adding some salt to the batter as well, so do beware how much salt you're adding into your sauce. You don't want it to be too salty because there's going to be taste in the batter as well. And just give it a little taste. Definitely can use a lot more vinegar.
Add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch or potato starch and give it a really good stir.
Your sauce. I'm going to use a big Tupperware just so that the meat can kind of freely move around in it. So the thing about this batter is, first of all, it's potato starch, and it has to be potato starch if you want it to be crunchy. I think you can use cornstarch, it just won't be as crunchy, it'll be a little bit less, it'll be a little bit softer, that's all. And just add quite a lot of potato starch, and then add some water, cold water. You have to use cold water. If you use anything other than cold water, like warm or hot water, the starch will turn into granules. It will stick together. So add some water. Add it little by little, bit by bit, because the consistency of the batter, and I'll show you once I get it, and I think I've actually already overdone it. Yeah, I've overdone it. So see, this is quite watery. So we need more starch. The consistency should be like plain yogurt, not plain Greek yogurt, because plain Greek yogurt is way too thick. More like, because see right now I can't even grab it. That means it's too dry. So you add a little bit of water, just a little bit. The tipping point is quite sensitive with this batter. A little bit more. So there we go. It can still be just a little bit more runny, just a little bit more. And the reason why we want this batter to be quite thick, so you can see when I try to grab it, it feels a bit like cement, and when you let it go and pour, it has this stickiness to it. And we want it to be like this because we want it to really coat onto the meat, but at the same time not too thickly. So it needs to be runny enough for it to move around, but also thick enough so that it will coat the meat. So look at this. This is perfect. You know, I can move my hands through it gently, but it's not like water. It's quite runny, kind of like plain yogurt. So what we do next is we drain our meat. So this was our meat. I kind of drained it in a sieve, and this is the reason why we don't cut it too thin, because once you put it in the batter, it's quite viscous, and what will happen is the meat will break if it's too thin. So we put it in the batter. We add a little bit of oil, about 2 tablespoons is fine, and some more salt. Remember I said we need to put salt in the batter, so don't put too much in your sauce, and just coat the meat in the batter. And if I'm being honest, I think my batter is still a little bit on the thin side. Yeah, it's a little bit thin. And this is because the meat wasn't completely dried when I put it in batter, so the meat actually gave it a little bit more liquid. That's okay. So we just add some more potato starch, not cornstarch, and we continue to move it around. So yeah, so this dish will use up a lot of your potato starch. So do get a fresh new bag of potato starch. A little bit more. So this is good. So if I grab a piece, you'll see that the batter sticks onto the meat, but you can still see bits where the batter isn't covering the meat, and that's exactly what we want, because after we fry it, it will give this beautiful kind of amber look, where you have bits that are, sorry, not amber, leopard print look. There will be bits where it's a little bit more white, because the batter has covered it, and part of it where the meat will be showing showing where it will be darker. Just adding a little bit more because I still think it's a little bit runny. It should be quite well coated. I'm not giving you any measurements simply because this is something that you have to try with your hands, and it comes with experience. It's not something that you can just say, oh, put however many teaspoons of this and water and then it will work out. It unfortunately doesn't work like that. So now if I pick up a piece, yes, there we go. See how the batter really sticks onto it now. It sticks onto it, and then it also has bits where it's showing the meat. That's what we want. Right, so we'll leave that there. Next, we're going to fry the meat. So right here, I have a wok of oil heating up. We'll be frying the pork twice. The first time to give it its shape and to cook it through, and the second time to dry it out and give it that crunch. The first time we're going to fry it at a, apparently it's a medium heat. It'll be at 180 degrees Celsius. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'm sure you guys can Google that. And if you are scared of deep frying, then I'm afraid this dish is not for you, because it's very hard to make this dish without deep frying. Right, the temperature is now 180, and we're going to be frying our pork. And this is how you want to fry it. So you take a piece, and you go like this with it. You want to swivel it around. I'm trying to find the end to this piece of meat. And you don't want to put too many in because they will stick together. Because potato starch is very, very sticky.
See those big bubbles? That's the kind of bubbles that you want.
Now we gotta get the oil to between 200 to 220 degrees Celsius.
So now I'm just going to show you guys how a piece looks. So you want the meat to look like leopard print. So you can see there are dark and there are light parts to the piece of meat. That means it's good and done. So now we're going to actually stir fry all the meat. Heat about 2 tablespoons of hot oil, then put all of your garnishes in first. Quickly stir fry everything until you start smelling the scent of fried garlic and fried spring onion. And then put all your meat in and continue to stir fry. This is where having a wok really helps because then you're able to stir fry everything and flip everything. Then go and grab your sauce that you made before. Give it a good stir, make sure all the starch and sugar from the bottom are stirred up and dissolved. And then just pour it all over your meat. And now really you have to be really quick, stir fry everything, give everything a good flip. And you are ready to plate everything. And here's the finished product.